I still remember the sound of the champagne cork popping that morning. That stupid little pop. Everyone cheered. Glasses clinked. My Uncle Gary was already halfway drunk before noon, and I was smiling like an idiot, thinking it was going to be the best day of my life. Turned out it was the day everything blew up in my face. But let me not jump ahead. If I just tell you my best friend slept with my fiancée at my own wedding, you'll think, yeah, I've heard some trashy stories like that before. But see, that sentence doesn't cover the part where I'd known the guy since I was 6, where she was the love of my life for 8 years, or how it felt standing in a stupid white tux holding a ring, thinking they were both just running late. Yeah, I didn't know it then, but I was standing on a landmine with a smile on my face. I grew up in a town called Meridian, Ohio. It's one of those places where the main attraction is a gas station with 3 pumps and a diner with pie that's famous if you ask the locals, but would probably get a C on Yelp. My best friend, Mark Turner, lived 2 houses down. We met in 1st grade when he traded me his peanut butter sandwich for my chocolate milk. That's how our lifelong friendship started. One lunch trade at a sticky cafeteria table. Mark was that kid who could talk anyone into anything. He could talk a teacher into postponing a test, talk a girl in a ditching class, talk me into doing dumb things I swore I wouldn't. And me? I was the guy who followed him around, rolling my eyes, but never actually saying no. We grew up together, went to the same high school, same college. I studied accounting. He didn't study much of anything. He always had some scheme, selling sneakers, flipping cars, running a sports betting club that was basically him losing money in other people's names. But no matter what, we stayed close. I never questioned it. It was Mark. I met Emma during junior year at Ohio State University. She was a nursing student, and I was immediately gone for her. Not in a cheesy love at first sight kind of way. She actually told me to move out of the way because I was blocking the coffee line. But she had this laugh that made you feel like you were in on some secret. We started dating a few weeks later. Mark was the first one I told. Dude, he said, throwing a Dorito at me from the couch. Finally, you've been acting like a priest for 3 years. She's different, I told him. And she really was. She listened. She remembered things. She made me want to be less of a screw-up. Yeah. Mark waved me off. You say that now. Wait till she starts leaving hairpins in your sink. For the record, she did leave hairpins everywhere. And for the record, I didn't care. The thing about Mark and Emma, they got along. Like too well sometimes. But back then, that didn't bother me. She'd laugh at his stupid jokes. He'd call her Nurse Emma and fake a heart attack. We'd go out to bars together. We had barbecues in my backyard. He came over for Sunday football. She'd bring nachos. It was good. For 8 years, we built something. We moved in together after college, got a golden retriever named Max, bought a little house outside Columbus. Mark was still around, always around, but it didn't feel like a problem. He was my best friend. She was my partner. It was fine. When I proposed to her at the lake last summer, Mark was the first one to hug me. About time, man, he said, smacking me on the back. I was starting to think you were just a roommate with benefits. The wedding was set for May. We planned it for almost a year. Outdoor ceremony, white tent, fairy lights, the whole Pinterest starter pack. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't care about the color of the napkins or how the chairs were arranged. Emma cared, and I care because she did. Mark was my best man. Of course he was. The morning of the wedding, I woke up at 6:30 a.m. to the sound of my cousin blasting country music and my mom arguing with the florist. My suit was hanging on the door. My best friend was downstairs drinking coffee and teasing the groomsmen. Everything looked like the start of a perfect day. You ready, future mister? Responsible. Mark grinned, shoving a mug of coffee into my hands. As ready as I'll ever be. Don't chicken out. We're due. I mean, I get to make a killer speech if you disappeared. You're an idiot. Yeah, but I'm your idiot. We laughed. Like we'd done 1,000 times. Like he wasn't going to burn my life down 3 hours later. Around 11, Emma and her bridesmaids were getting ready at the hotel a few blocks away. We were at the venue, just killing time, taking photos, drinking beer we weren't supposed to have yet. Everything was running like clockwork. Except she didn't show up on time for the first look. No big deal, right? Brides are late. Hair takes forever. I wasn't worried. But then half an hour passed. Then an hour. My sister kept texting her maid of honor. She's just touching up makeup, they said. She'll be right there. Meanwhile, Mark had disappeared. At first, I didn't even notice. Everyone was buzzing around. The photographer yelling at my dad to smile with your eyes, my aunt trying to sneak in extra chairs. But then I realized he wasn't there. I checked the parking lot. I called his phone, straight to voicemail. I called Emma. Same thing. For some reason, I still wasn't suspicious. I thought, maybe they're fixing something last minute. Maybe he's calming her down. Yeah, he was calming her down all right. Here's the thing about catching people doing something you can't unsee. Your brain doesn't process it all at once. First, it gives you this nice little layer of denial, like bubble wrap around a bomb. That's what happened to me when I opened the door to that hotel room. Room 217. I still remember the number. I got the key card from the front desk when they told me, your fiancé already went upstairs with one of the groomsmen. The door clicked open, and there they were. My best friend, my bride-to-be, half-dressed, close, too close, way too damn close. Mark froze. Emma gasped. I didn't say anything. For like 5 seconds, the world just stopped. Then Mark opened his mouth. Of course he did. Dude, wait, it's not what it looks like. I laughed. Out loud. Not the funny kind of laugh. The kind that sounds like something's breaking inside your chest. Emma scrambled to grab the sheet. Please, let me explain. Explain. I said, what exactly is left to explain? Mark stood up, like that was going to help. It just happened. Just happened. I repeated, oh, well in that case, congratulations. He tried to step toward me. I stepped back. I wasn't going to start a fight. Not on my wedding day. Not for them. You were my best man, I said. Best man. I know, man, I know, Mark stammered. I screwed up. Yeah, I said. You did. And then I turned around, closed the door, and walked away. You know what's funny? Outside that room, life just kept going. Guests were arriving. Someone was laughing by the bar. The DJ was doing a sound check. The caterer was unloading chicken wings. My mom was yelling about flowers again. I stood there in my stupid white tux, listening to it all, and I realized I had no best friend anymore. And I sure as hell didn't have a bride. I sat down on the curb behind the venue and lit a cigarette, even though I hadn't smoked in years. Some of the groomsmen came looking for me. Dude, where were you? Emma's late. Mark's missing, Jason said, breathless. Yeah, I said. About that. What happened? She's not coming. Neither is he. What? Trust me. Ceremony's canceled. He blinked at me. Wait, what the hell happened? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He saw my face and shut up. There's no elegant way to cancel a wedding an hour before it starts. There's no Hallmark card for, hey everyone, thanks for the gifts, but the bride's busy sleeping with the best man upstairs. We told people there'd been an emergency, which was technically true. People whispered. My aunt cried. My mom looked like she was about to strangle someone. I didn't say a word. Emma didn't come down. Mark didn't either. My dad eventually took my phone from me because people kept calling. But here's the part nobody talks about. After all that chaos, there's silence. When the guests leave, when the music stops, when you're sitting in an empty tent surrounded by white chairs and uneaten cake. That silence, it's loud. 2 days later, Mark texted me. We need to talk. Yeah, talk. I ignored it. Then he showed up at my house. Max barked at him like he'd never seen him before. Good dog. I opened the door just enough to make him see I didn't care. Get lost. Man, please. Can I explain? No. He stepped closer anyway. I was drunk. She was crying. It was a mistake. One time. I swear. One time. I laughed again. Mark, you didn't borrow my charger. You slept with my fiancée. At my wedding. He lowered his head. I didn't mean to hurt you. That's the thing, I said. You did. He kept talking, something about being lost, about how I was always the one with everything figured out, about how she came to him first. I stopped listening. None of it mattered. Get out, I said. He didn't move. I slammed the door in his face. Emma tried next. A few days later, she came to the house. I didn't let her in. We stood on the porch like two strangers. She cried, said she was confused, said she made the worst mistake of her life. Yeah, I said. I was there. I still love you, she whispered. Then why'd you do it? She didn't answer. Just stared at me with that look people give when they know they can't fix something. Do me a favor, I said. Don't come back. She didn't. The first month after that was weird. Everyone wanted to talk. My mom wanted to process. My friends wanted details. My coworkers wanted gossip. Strangers in town looked at me like I was a tabloid headline. I went back to work after a week. Numbers were easy. People weren't. Every lunch break, someone would bring it up like it was a reality show. Man, I would have decked him right there. My colleague Dan said one day over a burger. Yeah, I said, and then what? Then he'd know. Oh, he knows. The thing is, you imagine how you'd react to betrayal. You think you'd scream, break something, throw a punch. I didn't. I just stopped talking to them. That was worse for them. And honestly, better for me. Mark left town a month later. People said he went to Chicago. Emma moved out of the house. I kept Max. That was non-negotiable. I started jogging at night because the house felt too quiet. I got rid of the wedding invitations. Donated the tux. Gave the ring back to the jeweler. Not because I'm noble, because I couldn't stand looking at it. One night, I was sitting in a dive bar near the highway, nursing a cheap beer, when this old guy at the counter said, "Rough night?" I laughed. Rough year. Marriage. Almost. Ah, he nodded. She cheated. I raised an eyebrow. That obvious? Kid, I've been bartending for 40 years. You got the look. We talked for an hour. I don't even remember his name. But he said something that stuck. He said, people think betrayal is an explosion, but it's not. It's a slow rot. The bomb just shows you where it started. I didn't have an answer for that. A few months later, I ran into one of Emma's bridesmaids at the grocery store. She gave me that pity smile people give you when they don't know what else to do. You look better, she said. Yeah, well, it's hard to look worse than a guy whose wedding blew up before the ceremony. She laughed awkwardly. I'm sorry. It was a mess. Yeah, it was. She really loved you, you know. Yeah, I said. She had a funny way of showing it. Mark texted me again around Christmas. Something like, I'm sorry. I hope you're okay. I deleted it without reading the rest. Emma sent me a long email in January. I read that one. Not because I wanted her back. Because I wanted to see if she understood what she'd done. She didn't. It was a wall of words that basically said, I didn't mean it. You don't accidentally sleep with your fiance's best friend on your wedding day. That doesn't just happen. And that's the thing. People like to think betrayal is this big, cinematic moment. But the real damage isn't in the act itself. It's in everything it poisons. I lost a friend I'd known almost my whole life. I lost the woman I thought I'd grow old with. I lost a version of myself that believed certain things were unshakable. But I didn't lose everything. I still had Max. I still had my family. I still had myself. And it turns out, that's enough to start over. A year after the wedding that wasn't, I was back at the lake. The same spot where I proposed. Only this time, no ring in my pocket, no big speeches. Just me, sitting on a bench with a cup of coffee and a dog chasing ducks. I wasn't bitter anymore. Not really. I wasn't grateful either. I just was. That's the part nobody tells you. You don't magically heal. You just learn to live without the weight you used to carry. But let me rewind a bit, because between the hotel door and the quiet lake bench, there was a whole stretch of chaos, and that's the part everyone leans into here. After the wedding was canceled, a lot of people picked sides. Not because they wanted to, but because people love a mess. My friend Jason was the first to come over that night. He sat on my porch with a six-pack. Say the word, he told me. We'll go over there. Do what? I don't know. Break something. Yell. Whatever. I shook my head. No. Dude, you're way too calm. Yeah, I said. Give it time. My mom called every day. She wanted to make casseroles. Moms think casseroles fix heartbreak. Sweetie, I can bring over the lasagna, she said. Mom, I don't need lasagna. You always need lasagna. Not this time. She paused. I can still hate them for you. Yeah, I said. Do that. Work was a circus for a while. The guys in my department treated it like an episode of some reality show. They meant well, I guess. But some of the things they said, you start to notice who gets it and who doesn't. Mike, my coworker, pulled me aside one day. Man, if that were me, I'd burn their stuff. Yeah. I asked. And then what? He shrugged. I don't know. Feels better, I guess. I looked at him. Does it? He didn't have an answer. About 2 months in, Mark's younger sister showed up at my house. I hadn't seen her since high school. Can we talk? She asked. I don't really want updates on your brother. It's not about him, she said. I just wanted to say, I am sorry. He's an idiot. I leaned against the doorframe. He was always an idiot. Yeah, but this time he really screwed up. Yeah, I said. He did. One of the weirdest parts was how many people wanted to tell me their own stories. Turns out betrayal's a pretty common currency. Coworkers, neighbors, even the old guy at the bar, they all had their versions. And for some reason, they all ended with, "But look at me now. I'm better off." I wasn't sure if that was supposed to make me feel better, but it did make me realize something. What happened wasn't about me. Not really. They were broken in their own ways. I just happened to be standing in the blast radius. Emma's maid of honor, Sarah, called me one night. It was late. I almost didn't pick up. "She's not doing well," she said. "Not my problem. I know. She's miserable. Good for her. You really don't care?" I took a breath. I did. For 8 years. That was enough. Sarah didn't call again. By fall, I started to feel like myself again. I went to football games, grabbed beers with friends, fixed up the house. People stopped whispering. Life moved on. The only one who didn't move on was Mark. Every few months, some message popped up. Different wording, same story. "I miss my best friend. I'd give anything to take it back. You're like a brother to me." But here's the thing. He wasn't my brother. Brothers don't do that. I never answered. One night, almost a year after everything, Jason and I were sitting on the tailgate of his truck outside the same bar where Mark and I used to hang out. He cracked open a beer and said, "You ever think about seeing her again?" "No, not even like to say something." I said everything I needed to. He nodded. "You ever think about punching him?" I smirked. Every day for the first 3 months. And now I just don't care. He raised his beer. That's growth, man. The last time I saw Emma was at the grocery store of all places. She was standing in the produce aisle holding a cantaloupe. I almost laughed at how ordinary it was. She saw me, froze for a second, then gave this tiny, awkward wave. I nodded back. That was it. No grand speeches. No cloche. Just two people who used to have everything. Now strangers picking out fruit. I left without saying a word. It was the most freeing moment of my life. So yeah, that's my story. My best friend slept with my fiancée at my wedding. I lost them both in one afternoon. And no, there was no big Hollywood confrontation. No epic revenge plot. Just a guy walking away from a hotel room and never looking back. People expect you to either explode or fall apart. I didn't either. I just moved on. Slowly. Quietly. One day at a time. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. Betrayal doesn't define you. How you walk away does. Sometimes I still hear that champagne cork in my head. That stupid little pop. But now it doesn't sting. It's just a sound. A reminder of a day that didn't go the way I planned, but maybe ended exactly how it needed to. Max still barks at every mailman. My mom still tries to feed me too much lasagna. And me? I still believe in love. Just not the way I did before. And no, I never spoke to Mark again. Some doors don't get reopened. Some bridges don't get rebuilt. And that's okay. Because the best revenge is living like you don't need any.